Welcome to the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, brought to you by Southern Jewelry News and Jewelry Store Marketers.
Hello, everyone. This is Guy Panetta with Jewelry Store Marketers, and I'm excited to do the first episode of the Pearls of Wisdom Jewelry podcast here in 2023. And I am here with some amazing people. As always, I'm with my lovely co-host, Lisa Dillon of Southern Jewelry News. And today we have our special guest, Kate Peterson, who's the CEO of Performance Concepts and Management Consultancy for Jewelers. So welcome. Thank you.
Welcome. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we sat down and wait, I know I met you, and you've run a bunch of different things, write some columns. Why don't you tell us about what you do?
Well, my group does a whole lot of things. Generally speaking, as a consultant, our job is to help people make money, whether that's retail jewelers, whether it's manufacturers, designers. We look at everything from business operations to personnel, staffing, training, things of that nature. When it comes down to marketing, no, we don't do marketing, contrary to popular opinion. But what we do is look at marketing and say, okay, if you want this to be effective, here's what your people need to do. Not your marketing people, your in-store people and your salespeople, your representatives, to convey a message that's really consistent.
Right. Wow. Okay. That's great. It's really needed. It's really needed in the jewelry industry. What's typically the biggest challenge you're finding with jewelers, or what challenge they have?
There's a whole lot going on right now. This is a very, very interesting time in our industry. I've been around for a whole lot of years, I got to tell you. This is a very interesting time. There's a lot going on with people, the changes in people, shifting generationally, and then every crazy thing that could possibly have happened based on the pandemic experience that people had. Consumers are behaving completely differently, which, by the way, is another big thing that we pay a tremendous amount of attention to, is consumer behavior, because everything we do is driven by what we learn every day about consumer behavior. Nothing matters if we don't know what the customer is doing.
Right.
You can't train a staff if you don't know what's going on with changes in the customer base and things of that nature. But those changes in the customer base and the pandemic-related changes are also rolling over into changes in the employment pool and staffing and what people think and how they behave. And the biggest challenge, I think, for a lot of employers, whether they are jewelers or designers, manufacturers, is that they haven't quite gotten their head around the idea that you can't keep doing things the way you did them before when everything around you has changed. It stops working at a certain point. And those that are sensitive to that sort of thing are doing very well, and others are really finding it to be a struggle.
Right. So what's the most common thing that you're advising jewelers to do these days?
Look at systems and procedures, particularly with regard to people and training carefully. Particularly retail jewelers. This is kind of interesting. The manufacturers and designers, most of them are bigger companies, generally, than the retailers. So they have just a little bit more structure around them. Most retail jewelers, until they specifically decide to focus on this, really don't have a lot of structure. They do things kind of by gut, and they do it by, the way it's always been done here and things like that. Problem is, when you're hiring people that just don't think that way, that need more structure, that, you can't expect them to deliver when they don't have the parameters that they can look at and say, yeah, that's what you expect of me. So I think the biggest thing is that they're finally, there's a lot of them that are catching on now to the fact that they've got to step back and they've got to say, okay, before I say that this person's not doing the job, have I really taken the time to say exactly what the job is? Do they know what I expect of them? And you can't get by with, this is one of the things that came out in the session yesterday that we did here at RJO, was, you're not paying these people to read your mind.
Right.
It's not on them to figure out what you want. And common sense, by the way, are two words that don't ever go together in the English language, in my opinion. They just don't go. And unfortunately, most people say, well, it's just common sense. They've been here for how long? It's like, nah, it doesn't work. Yeah. Let's back up the ponies here and start with putting some structure around what you want.
Wow. Okay. At breakfast this morning, we were sitting with Jane from R.M. Johnston in Virginia, and I asked her, what's your biggest challenge? She said people.
Yep.
People. She, her husband was the bench jeweler, but he passed on, and the bench jeweler now is retiring.
Toughest position in the store to fill.
Is that bench jeweler?
Yep,
I
absolutely.
always see it on the JHJ or RJO or all the different channels. I need a bench jeweler.
Oh, look at our classifieds in Southern and Mid-America. It's, I mean, many.
So there's a lesson in this, and this is what's really important, okay? We know where we are now, and we know that it's a really difficult spot, particularly for skill positions like jewelers. But if we don't learn anything from how we got here, this is going to be an ongoing problem. How we got here is this. As I said, I've been around a long time, and I grew up watching the jewelers that were all kind of the same age range.
Yeah.
Okay? These guys, and I say that most of them at the time were guys, okay? Women just didn't do that dirty work, you know? I'm talking 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So these guys got their start however they got it, whether it was, passed down through the family, they went to a trade school after the war, their father taught them, whatever it was. But they were all of generally the same age. They were all pushing close to retirement age. Nobody was really saying that they were going to retire. But the one thing that most of them had in common, and I won't say all ever, but most of them had in common, is that they refused to take on apprentices. It was too much work to train somebody. They could do the work themselves better than they could bring somebody along. There's only so many schools for this, for jewelers, and then you got to find the people that want to go to school. But these guys didn't train apprentices for the most part, okay? There are several highly successful businesses in our industry where that's their business model. They bring in young people, they train them well, and they're growing bench jewelers, but that's how they're feeding their businesses. So what we've learned from, and the rest of that story, by the way, is that when the pandemic hit, a huge number of those guys retired. It just wasn't worth having to come back to it after being closed down for a certain amount of time or whatever. So all these guys leave, they retire, they die. I mean, crazy, whatever happened. But at the end of the day, we were left with this giant void because there weren't enough people trained to step in. So what we're telling our clients now across the board is your jeweler's number one priority is to train an apprentice. I don't care if you do minimal volume or maximum volume. We help them go to colleges, high schools even. Find the kid. There's a lot going on in the country now about trade schools. Give me a kid who really doesn't want to go to college right now, but who's good with her hands or his hands, who's an artist who wants that sort of work. Take that person and teach them.
Right.
And the biggest objection, well, what do I do so they don't leave and go to work for somebody else?
Exactly.
You just do your best.
Treat them well.
Exactly. You treat them well, you do your best, and you get what you're paying for while you're paying for it.
Right. That's why I think the RJ, I want to say sponsorship, but the
Foundation or Gen Scholarship. Our scholarship.
The scholarship is so important, right? And they're and just like Sarah said yesterday, I believe, or forget where it was, where she said it's open to your employees as well, not just the retailers, but to the vendors.
That's nice.
They just high quality trained jewelers is what's needed in this industry. So
yeah, I mean, if somebody had the drive and motivation, and of course seed capital, I absolutely adore Blaine Lewis, and I think he does an amazing job. But he's only one school, and that's it. And there's a long wait now for getting a spot in there. I've read that in several places, and if I'm wrong about that, somebody please correct it. But
no, he probably is. I know Paris, Texas Institutes, and other, they're pulling out, they put a lot of bench jewelers out there too,
and they're not there anymore.
And it's just not a lot out there for the training. We really need to step it up as an industry.
Yeah.
We've got, my son's a diesel mechanic. He didn't graduate. He didn't want to go to college. He knew he wanted to, be a diesel mechanic. So he went to, trade school for that. My other son too, he went to, so we've got to get that message out there.
And the way to do it is to look at the internships and the apprenticeships. It's not to just look for people who just want to go to that kind of school. It's going to be difficult. We had DCA for the longest time. We tried really hard to launch a program with the high schools. There is so much red tape and difficulty in the educational system throughout the country getting curriculum that can be approved as they won't allow us to call it VOTEC anymore. I don't even remember what the name is, but you have to have just mountains of stuff to go through, and it was very difficult to get that program off the ground.
Yeah.
And even with the best effort behind it, it has to start grassroots, and it has to be every store's responsibility. Who wants to have that position filled to do that?
Well, we're always the industry is always proclaiming that invest in your employees. This is what you need to do. Some of the successful stores that I know through my many years are the ones that actually do reach out to the high schools. They go to in their community. We're always saying, hey, do you really want to, go get involved in your community, Rotary Club, and, go out there and network. They need to take that same for getting their customers and do the same with finding qualified employees who are motivated to come in. I started out when I was 16 years old in the jewelry business. And I was piercing ears in the mall. And I absolutely loved it. And I did that for many years. And that was the beginning of my love to get into the industry.
Pain.
That's it. I'll say that, yeah. That was the beginning of my life-inflicting pain.
Yes, and I think it was the fact that at the pierced ear you got to wear a lab coat because it was a minor surgical procedure.
Yes.
So I was like, look at this.
Snap this.
And I've told this before on the podcast, but when they showed me as a young 16-year-old, over here is the diamond case. So anything you sell in here, you're going to get 15% of what that diamond sale is. And as a young girl, I was like, this is awesome. Of course, what did I do? I would just sell out the whole case. It didn't take long because I was so motivated by that. And here I was. And at 15, 16 impressional, here I am. I'll be 60 on Tuesday. And I am
Be almost birthday.
still running strong in the industry, just like Kate.
That's right. And I started pretty much the same way, 16. And, what I remember most about that is, growing up in just a pretty blue-collar household. I mean, we didn't, jewelry was not something that was high on our radar.
Right.
But I remember one of the first, the second or third day in the store, my boss handing me a ring, a diamond ring, engagement ring, and telling me to put it back in the case. And I held this thing and I looked at it and I looked at the tag. And I remember clearly the thought that went through my mind is, oh my God, this is more money than my parents' house. Which, by the way, was not a lot of money. We're talking a lot of years ago, okay? But in relative terms today, it's not that much. But it was just that sense of awe.
Wow.
That came from that. And, of course, by the end of the week, it was inventory. If we lose our perspective very quickly. But the point is that the only way we're going to solve what appears to be, I think there's two things. I'm going to back up here. There's two things that we need to do as an industry to solve this people problem, okay? The first is to understand that we have a lot to offer, okay? There's a lot of people running around, particularly retailers, that are terrified about the fact that they can't compete with, Sonic, who's having to pay $18 an hour just to get people. And how am I going to? I said, well, you don't, because you have a lot more to offer. There are requirements that come with that sort of, $18 an hour to put burgers in a bag. Mm. And I'm not diminishing the job by any means, but what I am saying is that Sonic's not a dumb company. As an example, they've been around for a long time. If they're paying you $18 an hour, Lisa, to put burgers in a bag, you have a goal of X number that have to go in there. Otherwise, it's not profitable for them. Okay? So the standards are tight. So what looked like a good thing to do for an extra $1 an hour a year and a half ago when that jewelry employee went to do that, all of a sudden is not such a good thing anymore because they're either losing their job or they're not still, they don't want to be there. So the first thing is we have to understand that we can compete. The other thing that the independent jeweler has to understand, important when it comes to the competition in terms of employees, is that you got to get past I'm going to call it the chain store mentality.
Okay.
That says that, okay, you come in as a salesperson, and then if you're really good as a salesperson, we're going to promote you to manager and you're going to get your own store. Hold on. That's like saying, all right, guy, you are the best carpenter I've ever seen, so I'm going to promote you to plumber. I mean, it makes no sense.
I'll tell you that.
But that's that mentality. So what happens is the independent jewelers feel like they really can't bring people in because in their view, they don't have that career path.
Right.
But what they don't understand is most of those people who are successful salespeople are not going to make great managers. So, because it's a different skill set. It's a totally different skill set. So, they have to understand that what they have to offer is the direct ability to let someone grow in skills that they love, doing things that they love without making them change jobs to get ahead. So it's a whole different perspective. Okay, so until we get to that, and people are not afraid of what else is going on around them, they're going to struggle with people.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, is what makes them keep the people that they should have gotten rid of a long time ago.
Right.
Right. Very true.
Wow. Oh, that's real. It's very real.
Yeah.
Very real.
Get that wisdom written down.
That's it. The pearls.
Retailers.
Thank you.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You said you had some questions.
I was going to do a rapid fire question, Kate.
What?
Because, and I had my paper, but then I couldn't find it. But all right, we're going to do some rapid fire questions with Kate. Some are going to be, pretty crazy, but whatever.
Let's do it. No worries.
Go ahead. What is the one thing you regret spending money on?
Wow. I don't know that I regret spending money. Usually, if I had to say it, it would be like necessities that I wish I didn't have to spend money on.
Oh.
Like who wants to buy a giant bag of toilet paper? I mean, it just doesn't, I don't miss it. Maybe I don't regret it, but I sure don't like it.
Oh, my gosh. What never fails to make you laugh?
Boy, these are tough.
These are hard questions. I didn't mean to make it so hard.
Seriously, it's going to sound goofy, but it's the truth. My puppy.
Oh.
She's just puppies, plural. These guys are just so goofy. And it's perfectly okay. They can be as goofy as they want, and I'll crack up every time.
And I think that's why that the furry pets.
Furry friends on the job?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
We need to have we gotten your beautiful little, aren't they golden doodles?
I have 2 golden doodles and a rescue Staffordshire mix.
Ugh. Well, we need to get them on our furry friends on the job. So when you're working one day and you've got all those lovely little furry friends, take a picture, snap it up, and we'll let everybody can see it. What is your favorite board game?
My favorite board game, again, crazy, Rugrats Monopoly. Now, you know that Milton Bradley is
Simpsons Monopoly. I love it.
Milton Bradley's made all different versions of Monopoly.
Kinds.
And a couple years back, they had a limited edition Rugrats version. Now, my kids know, my boys are grown, but they know that Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys were always my top of the list favorite, okay? So when that came out, they immediately found me a Rugrats Monopoly. That and Scrabble. I get to play Scrabble every now and again.
I love some Scrabble. Yeah. Have you ever gone viral on a video?
Nope. Can't say that I have.
Do you have any tattoos?
Actually, yeah, 2. Matter of fact, 2.
Is it true once you get one, you just want to, do you have an inkling to get another one?
I do, but not because it's a drive for me. It's because I have a nephew who is probably one of the most talented tattoo artists in the country. That guy is just amazing. If anybody's interested, check out Chillface Art. He's pretty amazing.
Shout out to Chillface Art.
Yep, good guys. Buffalo, New York. Buffalo. But Keith is great. And if I were going to do another one, it would be because I would trust him to come up with something so amazing that I'd have to have it.
Yeah, very cool. What about street smarts or book smarts?
I think you got to have a little bit of both. The people who think that they have street smarts, therefore they don't really need to know much, are challenging. The people who have a lot of book smarts who have never really used anything on the streets are dangerous. So I think you got to have a little bit of it.
You've got about 4 minutes before we let this big crowd waited out here to come in, so just be a minute.
We've already started. We've been here. Now, if your newest pet, what's her name or his?
The newest one is Sadie.
Okay. If Sadie could talk, what would she say about you?
Definitely the sucker and the soft touch.
Oh.
I got this one figured out. If I want anything I'm not supposed to have, she's the one you go to. Yep, she's the one you go to if I want something I'm not supposed to have.
She has a finger. She would have...
Exactly. Yeah, wrapped around my little paw. Except her paws aren't little, but
Okay. Let's see. Don't really like that one. Okay. What is the kindest thing someone ever did for you?
I have to tell you, I'm really very blessed, and I'm not going to lie. I have been in this industry for many, many years, since I was a kid, as we talked about, and I have had so many kindnesses, and so many people just look out for me and do things to make sure that I was okay, especially when I was a lot younger. But, when I look at people like our dear friend Terry Chandler, he has done amazing, amazing kind things for me. My clients do kind things for me virtually every day.
I think that's something about this industry too. The kindness, it's all relationship building. So, to receive all kinds of acts of kindness, whether it's just a lending hand or go get a coffee or, a beautiful flower, all those things really are special.
And a shout out here to this to the management here at RJO as well. These guys have been so incredibly good to me, professionally and personally, for a lot of years.
Yeah.
To share joys. I found out on my birthday a couple days ago. Found out I'm going to be a grandma, which is great. But hard to tell. Hard to tell who was more excited, me or the RJO team out front. And they just share in all those joys. It's a thrill. It really is.
The team is like that. They really do have a personal interest in everybody that is here. So it's great. Kate, are you heading, now that you and I both are out west, we're going to keep going west, if I'm not mistaken?
Jewelers, it's time to buy.
So, Kate, where are you heading?
I'm actually leaving here just in a few hours. I head up to Centurion for a couple days to work with a designer client of mine who's got a really, really great launch going on up there. And after that, I will be heading down to Tucson to get in all kinds of trouble, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And not regret anything,
Yeah.
just so you know.
I think, didn't we go to jogs together? We did. Yeah. Yep.
We almost bought a bathtub, but that's another whole story.
Oh, and we were looking for, and I wonder if you ever found it. Did you ever find the chess set for your son that was made? Did you find
Onyx chess set.
Oh,
Found it out there, had it shipped home.
That's cool.
Yeah. Tucson is a really
So would you say, Kate, that you help people? Is that
That's about right. Yeah, you can say that.
I always love asking people why. What's your
why?
Why? What's your why? Why is it that you love helping people?
When I think about it, I could measure my success by my own successes, but with the work that I do, I get to measure my success by everybody else's success. So on the perfectly selfish side, on the altruistic side, that's a wonderful thing. I love to see people be successful. But on the perfectly selfish side, I don't get to just enjoy mine. I get to enjoy everybody else's, and it's just a lot bigger that way.
Right.
I love that.
That's great. That's great. Well, I think we had a really amazing talk here with Kate, and thank you so much before you headed out. And to tell everybody how to find you, just in case.
Well, the best way to find me is just drop a note to kate@performanceconcepts.net. I do respond usually pretty quickly, depending on flight schedules. But that's the best way to get a hold of me. And obviously, anybody at Southern Jewelry News, Midwest Jewelry News, Elisa knows how to find me. Anything you need, reach out. I'm happy to see what I can do to help.
Yeah, just make sure you check out our column every month on In Store, The Real Deal. It's a great column. And obviously, Kate's going to be at all of the trade events. Don't miss a chance to sit in and talk to, and see her panels or even do a consultation. You've got to invest in your store, and having a consultant like Kate is only going to elevate your business 100%. I've known her. She's great.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
we also want to make sure that everybody knows that February's issue is hot off the press. So we want to make sure that if you're not getting Southern or Mid-America Jewelry News, go to the website, southernjewelrynews.com, sign up for our e-newsletter or get that paper delivered to you so we can inform and educate and even entertain you on a monthly basis.
Entertain, right. That's
Definitely entertain.
That's what we were doing in that picture.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, yes.
This is the disco picture. Yeah, that I had in my brain.
Karaoke party at Atlanta's show.
I think briefly. I think I popped in and out. I didn't stay very long, but that would have been worth seeing. Now that I see that.
Yeah.
Now back to that whole regret question. Now that I regret not staying and investing in a costume.
Yeah, that's right. We have a great time.
It's funny. People ask me, "Are you part of the entertainment?"
Yeah, always. Yeah, because you're very entertaining. Everybody thought you were that between your karaoke skills. He was great. It was fun.
He's saying,
Have Credence.
Yeah, Credence.
Have you ever seen the rain?
Oh, I love it. It was so much fun. That's so much fun. I can't wait to do it again.
Yes.
What fun.
So we just want to wish everybody a great show season coming up. And, definitely come and check us out whenever you can. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, and subscribe to the Pearls of Wisdom. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
For joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Episode. Thank you, guys. All right, take
Thanks
care.
for
guys.
listening to the Pearls of Wisdom Jewelry Podcast. For more information about the show, please visit southernjewelrynews.com/podcast, brought to you by Southern Jewelry News and Jewelry Store Marketers. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you can catch the next show. See you then.